I still taste the dust in my mouth. You know that taste? Of dry earth, of desperation, of abandonment? Well, that's what I swallowed on that cursed day, when my own son left me alone on the side of the road like I was some stray dog. Before I continue, tell me in the comments which city you're listening to this story from, and subscribe to the channel because there's a new story every day. It's all drama, emotion and truth, the kind that seems like lies, but isn't. My name is Martha Fields, 62 years of life, 35 years of widowhood, and a pain in my chest that seems like it will never go away. It's not the kind of pain medication can fix. It's a mother's pain, the pain of someone who gave everything and got spit in the face in return. That day, I woke up early as usual. Hot coffee, toast on the griddle, the same old routine. Henry was supposed to take me to my doctor's appointment in Riverside. My son, oh my son. If I could go back in time, I don't know if I'd have the strength to give birth to that boy again. But at the time, I still had hope. I still thought that deep down, way deep down, there was a heart inside that chest. He arrived with a sour face, honking at the door like he was a taxi. He didn't even get out to help me with my bag. I carried my old purse, my documents, my heart medication myself. I got into his car. Actually, it belonged to Jessica, that viper he married, and tried to make conversation. "Henry, son, how are the kids?" He didn't even look at me. Eyes fixed on the road, jaw clenched. I tried again. "Natalie told me Gabriel is doing well in school. Mum, for God's sake, can't you just be quiet? Folks, you have no idea how much hear your own son, like your innocent's dead weight." I swallowed my... Looking out the window, watching the fields go by, thinking about life, thinking about how I had raised that boy with so much love, and now he was treating me worse than an animal. That's when the phone rang. Speakerphone. It was Jessica. That woman who looked down on me from the very first day, like I was dirt on her shoe. "Henry, how much longer are you going to waste with that useless old woman?" Useless old woman. Those words echoed in my head. Useless old woman. Me, who sewed my whole life to support that boy. Me, who co-signed when no one else believed in him. Me, who put my late father's land in his name because he said he needed it. Useless old woman. "Jessica, we'll talk later," he muttered, but he didn't hang up. "No, Henry, enough. I'm tired of your mother playing the victim, always inventing some illness, some appointment, something to drain you. She's a manipulator." I closed my eyes, took a deep breath, tried to pretend I wasn't hearing, but each word was a stab. Me, a manipulator. Me, who never asked for anything but a little affection. Me, who always said don't worry about it when he offered something, even when I needed it. "You're right, honey. I'm tired too." And then, that's when my world collapsed. My own son agreeing with that woman. My own son calling his mother a manipulator. I felt something breaking inside my chest. It wasn't my heart, it was my very soul. The car started to slow down. I thought there might be a traffic problem. But no. Henry was pulling over to the shoulder, in the middle of nowhere. Fields as far as the eye could see, the sun directly overhead, no houses nearby. "Get out." I thought I'd heard wrong. I turned to him with a face of complete confusion. "What did you say, son?" I said, get out of the car." His voice. Folks, it was a voice I'd never heard before. Cold, without any feeling. As if he were asking someone to leave a store, you know, without any emotion. "Henry, what are you doing? The appointment." "What appointment? Nothing. I'm tired of your emotional blackmail, tired of your poor me face, tired of you playing the victim. I don't have to put up with this anymore." He unlocked the doors. The sound of the click rang in my ears like a gunshot. I was paralysed, literally paralysed. I couldn't believe what was happening. "Henry, for God's sake, what madness is this? I'm your mother." "You're my mother, but you're not my obligation. I have my own family now. I have my children, my wife. I can't keep carrying you on my back." Carrying me on his back? I carried him on my back his whole life. I worked until my fingers bled to feed him. I went without buying clothes for myself to pay for his school. "Henry, you can't do this to me. I don't have money. I don't have a cell phone. I don't have any way to get back. Not my problem." And you know what hurts the most? He wasn't even angry. He wasn't shouting. He wasn't upset. He was coldly determined, as if he had planned this for a long time, as if I were just a problem he finally had the courage to discard. I picked up my purse with trembling hands, got out of the car, stood there, not really understanding what was happening. I thought he would change his mind. I thought he would call me back, that he would apologise, but no. He backed up, made a U-turn, and drove off, accelerating. He kicked up such a big dust cloud that I had to cover my face. When the dust settled, I was alone. Completely alone. The silence of the road is deafening, you know? It's a silence that enters through your pores, that tightens your chest, that makes you feel smaller than a grain of sand. I stood there motionless, holding my purse, not knowing where to go. And then it hit me. My son had abandoned me. My son, whom I had birthed in pain, whom I had raised with love, whom I had supported with sweat, had thrown me away like garbage. On the road, alone, with nothing. I started walking. I had no choice. The sun was hot. My legs weren't what they used to be, but I walked. Step by step, carrying my purse, swallowing tears. Because there was nothing else to do but walk. Do you know what goes through an abandoned mother's mind? Everything goes through it. Your whole life. All the diapers you changed, all the nights you didn't sleep because the boy was sick, all the sacrifices you made thinking that one day it would be worth it. I remembered when he was little. I remembered how he used to run to hug me when I came home from work. I remembered how he called me Dear Mommy when he wanted something. I remembered how he cried in my lap when his father died. And now he was throwing me on the road as if I were nothing. After an hour of walking, or two, I don't know, I lost track of time, a truck stopped. The driver was a gentleman in his 50s, honest face, kind eyes. "Mum, are you okay? What happened?" I couldn't speak. I could only cry. He helped me get into the truck, gave me some water, waited for me to calm down. When I was able to tell him what had happened, he shook his head sadly. "Mum, I'm sorry to say this, but your son is no good. Anyone who does that to their own mother isn't a human being." He took me to the nearest bus station. He even gave me money for the bus. Good people, the kind that still exist in the world. I thanked him, got on the bus, and went home. Throughout the trip, I kept thinking about how foolish I had been, how I had turned a blind eye to everything. Because it wasn't the first time Henry had mistreated me. For years he had been treating me like dead weight. For years he had only contacted me when he needed something. When his birthday came around, I made cake. When his children's birthdays came around, I sent presents. When my birthday came around, he didn't even remember. When I got sick, he disappeared. When I needed help, he was busy. But that day, on the road, I finally understood. I understood that I hadn't lost a son. I never had a real son. I had raised a stranger, an ingrate, a man who didn't know what a mother's love was because he never knew how to return a son's love. Arriving home, I sat at my kitchen table. I took out all the papers I had saved, all the deeds, all the documents. And that's when I remembered. That land I had put in his name actually was still in my name, because he never bothered to complete the final transfer. His laziness, his carelessness, whatever. I sat there looking at that deed. That land that had been my father's, that was now mine, that he thought was his. And for the first time in a long time, I smiled. It wasn't a smile of happiness. It was the smile of someone who finally understood the game. My son had taught me a lesson that day. He had taught me that I could no longer trust anyone, that I had to take care of myself, that I had to stop being foolish, and I was going to learn that lesson well, learn it and apply it. Because if he thought he could discard me like trash, he would discover that this trash still had plenty of fire to burn. Night fell, and I was still there, with the papers in my hand, planning my revenge. Not a loud revenge, no. A silent revenge. A revenge that he would only understand when it was too late. Because one thing I was sure of, you reap what you sow. And the storm in my son's life was just beginning. I didn't sleep that night. I sat at the kitchen table until sunrise, looking at those papers, planning each step. You know when you get that feeling that you finally understood everything, that finally all the pieces fit together? Well, that's what I felt. That morning I called Mr. Daniels. Daniel Daniels, an old-school lawyer, a friend of my late father's since their school days. An honest man, the kind that still exists out there. I explained the whole situation to him, omitting nothing. Told him about the abandonment on the road, told him about Henry's ingratitude, told him about my decision. "Mrs. Fields," he said, with that measured voice of someone who's seen a lot in life. "Legally, you can sell. The land is in your name. But, are you sure about this? He's your son, right? Mr. Daniels. My son threw me on the road like I was garbage. Let him figure it out now." There was silence on the other end of the line. Then he said, "All right, Mrs. Fields, I'll prepare everything. But you won't regret it later, will you?" Regret? I had already regretted being that ingrate's mother for so long. I had already regretted turning a blind eye to everything. Now it was time to open my eyes and act. Mr. Daniels worked fast. In a week, he already had a buyer. A businessman from New York who wanted to expand his business to the countryside. Paid cash, without haggling. $200,000. It wasn't a fortune, but it was dignity. It was freedom. It was my independence. Meanwhile, I started looking for an apartment. I wanted something small, but new. Something that was just mine. I found a 2-bedroom apartment in a brand new building in the centre of town. Ground floor, so I wouldn't have to climb stairs. Laundry area, open kitchen, a cosy living room. Perfect for me. Natalie showed up at my house one Saturday afternoon. My daughter, poor Natalie. She was always the family shadow. Never caused trouble, never asked for anything, always did the right thing. But she also never had the courage to stand up to her brother when he mistreated me. She always stayed in that middle ground, trying to appease, trying to keep the peace. "Mom, what happened?" "Henry is saying you're mad at him." I told her everything, every detail. The cancelled appointment, Jessica's call, the abandonment on the road, the humiliation, everything. I saw her eyes filling with tears. "Mum, I can't believe he did that." "Yes, you can, daughter. You always knew what your brother was like. You just pretended not to see." She lowered her head. She knew it was true. She was always too cowardly to confront Henry. She always chose the easier side. "And now, Mom, what are you going to do?" "I'm going to sell the land. I'm going to buy an apartment. I'm going to change my life." "But, Mum, that land was Grandpa's. It's family memory." "Family memory?" I laughed, but it wasn't a laugh of joy. It was the laugh of someone who couldn't believe what they were hearing. "Daughter, your brother crapped on family memory when he left me on the road. Now I'm going to crap on him." Natalie was shocked. She had never seen me talk like that. She had never seen me truly angry. She had always seen me as that resigned mother, who endured everything silently, who forgave everything. "Mum, but what if he regrets it? What if he apologises?" "Natalie, there are things that have no excuse. Abandoning your own mother is one of them." She tried to argue a bit more, but I was determined. For the first time in my life, I was determined to do something for myself. Not for Henry, not for Natalie, not for anyone. For me. The sale was completed on a Tuesday. I was there at the notary's office signing the papers when I felt a strange sensation. It wasn't regret. No. It was relief. As if I were finally freeing myself from a prison. As if I were finally cutting the last thread that tied me to that life of humiliation. With the money in the bank, I bought the apartment, paid cash. Then I bought new furniture. Nothing too expensive, but all new. All mine. All chosen by me, to my taste. For the first time in more than 60 years, I was making a home that was really mine. The move was quick. I didn't have much anyway. Some clothes, some utensils, some photos, from which I threw away all the ones with Henry. I kept only mine, Natalie's, my late husband's. The rest I donated or threw away. I changed my phone number, cancelled the landline. Left all social media. Not that I used it much, but anyway. I wanted to disappear. I wanted anyone who looked for me to have to make an effort to find me. 2 months later, the bomb exploded. Henry showed up at my old house. I didn't live there anymore, but the neighbour, Mrs. Johnson, told me everything later. He arrived desperate, banging on the door, shouting. When he discovered I didn't live there anymore, he went crazy. "Where's my mother? Where is she?" Mrs. Johnson said he looked like a madman. Messy hair, red eyes, wrinkled clothes. She said he was desperate because the bank was threatening foreclosure, that he urgently needed to sell the land to raise money. That's when she gave him the news. "Henry, your mother sold the land. Moved away from here. Didn't leave an address." He collapsed, literally collapsed. Sat on the sidewalk and started crying. Not a man's cry, no. A child's cry. A cry of despair. "She couldn't do this to me. That land was mine. She promised." Promised? I didn't promise anything. He just thought he could use me and discard me whenever he wanted. Now he was reaping what he had sown. Mrs. Johnson tried to give him my new address, but I was clear. "Mrs. Johnson, if he shows up there again, tell him I don't want any contact. Let him figure it out on his own." But he was stubborn. Very stubborn. He got my new number through Natalie. Started calling me. I didn't answer. He sent messages. I didn't read them. He showed up at my new building. I didn't go down. The doorman, Mr. Jack, a good man who doesn't talk much but understands everything, asked me, "Mrs. Fields, is this guy who keeps waiting downstairs a relative of yours?" He used to be, Mr. Jack. He used to be. He understood. Never let Henry up again. That's when the situation got more dramatic. Jessica discovered they had lost the only real asset they owned. And folks. Her reaction was like something from a horror movie. She came down on Henry in a way that even I, who hated her, felt sorry for him. "You're useless, a failure. You lost the only asset we had because of your crazy mother." Crazy? Me? Crazy? Who abandoned whom on the road? She took the kids and left, disappeared, left him with the debts, with the apartment about to be foreclosed, with nothing. Exactly as he had left me on the road. Exactly what he deserved. Natalie came to visit me every week, always bringing sad news about her brother, always trying to convince me to forgive. "Mum, he's in bad shape. Lost his apartment, lost his wife, lost his kids. He's living in a rented room." So what? "Mum, for God's sake, he's your son." A son doesn't abandon his mother on the road, Natalie. You never understood that. It was true. Natalie was always very good, very proper, but she never understood that too much kindness becomes a lack of character. She never understood that forgiving everything teaches that everything can be done without consequences. "Mum, but you're not happy with this revenge. I can see you're not happy." Happy? Who said anything about happiness? I wasn't happy. I was at peace. For the first time in years, I was at peace. There was no one humiliating me, no one using me, no one making a fool of me. "Daughter, happiness is for children. Adults seek peace." One day he managed to find me. I was leaving the grocery store when he appeared in front of me. Thin, unshaven, old clothes. He looked like a beggar. He looked exactly like what he was now, a man who had lost everything. "Mum, please, we need to talk." I looked at him. I felt nothing. Not anger, not pity, not love. Nothing. As if he were a stranger. Talk about what? About the land. About what happened. I know I made a mistake, but what? "But you shouldn't have done this to me. That land was the family's. It was mine too." I laughed. Really laughed. Right in his face. "Henry, you threw me on the road. Literally threw me on the road. And now you're telling me I shouldn't have done this to you?" "Mum, I was upset. I was going through a difficult time." "Difficult time?" I raised my voice. "I've been going through difficult times my entire life. Since your father died, all I've had are difficult times. And where were you? Where were you when I needed you?" People on the street started to look. He became embarrassed. "Mum, let's talk at home." "What home? You're not entering my home anymore. You lost that right." "Mum, for God's sake, I'm your son." A son takes care of his mother. A son doesn't abandon his mother on the road. "You're not my son. You're just someone I raised by mistake." He started crying. Right there in the middle of the street he started crying. But they weren't tears of remorse. They were tears of despair. Tears of someone who lost everything and doesn't know what to do. "Mum, I'm losing everything. Lost my house, lost my wife, lost my kids. I have nothing left. I only have you. You have nothing at all, including no mother, because you killed your mother that day on the road." I turned my back and walked away. He kept shouting behind me, but I didn't look back. Not anymore. Never again. That night, I sat in my new armchair, in my new apartment, in my new life. Turned on the TV, made some tea, picked up my crochet. I was at peace. Finally, at peace. Natalie arrived crying the next day. "Mum, Henry tried to kill himself." I didn't even get up from the armchair. Tried or succeeded? "Mum, how can you say that?" "Natalie, those who want to kill themselves do it. Those who want attention try to kill themselves. Mum, you're being very cruel." Cruel? Cruel was him abandoning me on the road. Cruel was him calling me a manipulator. Cruel was him agreeing with his wife when she called me useless. Now I'm being fair. Natalie didn't understand. She would never understand. Because she had never been humiliated like I had been. Never been used like I had been. Never been discarded like I had been. "Mum, but what if it's too late? What if he really does something stupid?" "Then he'll go to the same place as his father. To the cemetery. And I'll visit the grave once a year out of politeness." Sounds cruel. Sounds inhuman. You think I'm a monster. Then let me explain something. A monster is someone who abandons their own mother on the road. A monster is someone who uses their mother as a cosigner and then treats her like garbage. A monster is someone who only remembers they have a mother when they need something. I wasn't a monster. I was fair. Finally fair. And justice, my friends, sometimes hurts. But it's necessary, because without justice, without consequences, people think they can do anything. They think they can step on others without paying the price. Henry was paying the price, finally paying the price for a lifetime of ingratitude. And me? I was receiving the payment for a lifetime of humiliation. I was receiving it in peace, in tranquility, in dignity. Was it too little? Maybe. But it was mine. It was all mine. And no one was going to take that away from me anymore. No one was going to use me anymore. No one was going to discard me anymore. No one was going to make a fool of me anymore. Because I had learned. I had learned in the worst possible way, but I had learned. And now I knew. A mother's love has limits. A mother's patience has limits. A mother's forgiveness has limits. And my limit had been crossed on that dusty road, on that cursed day, when my own son proved to me that I had raised a stranger. The months passed and I began to build a new routine. Got up early, made my coffee, read the newspaper, took care of my plants in the service area. I discovered that I liked plants. I never had time for that before, always running after other people's problems. Now I had time for myself. Natalie kept showing up every week, always with news about her brother, always trying to soften me up, always thinking I would go back. But I wouldn't. Not at all. Every time she told some new misfortune about Henry, I felt nothing, as if she were talking about a stranger. Mum, he's living in a boarding house, sharing a bathroom with other men, doing odd jobs as a construction worker to survive. Good. He'll learn what it's like to really work. Mum, he's very thin, very worn down. Looks like he's aged 10 years. I aged too when he abandoned me on the road. Nobody cared. Natalie would sigh, shake her head, but wouldn't give up. Poor thing. She still thought family was that beautiful thing from movies, where in the end everyone hugs and forgives everything. She still hadn't understood that in real life, sometimes people do things that are unforgivable. One day she arrived different, more serious, more worried. Mum, he's drinking. His problem. Mum, he's drinking a lot. Every day. The people at the boarding house say he comes home drunk every night. Natalie, your brother always drank. It's nothing new. No, Mum, now it's different. He's drinking to forget, to not think. He's drinking to die slowly. I stopped watering my plants. Looked at her. Saw that she was really worried. But you know what I felt? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Natalie, everyone chooses how they want to live. Or die. Mum, how can you be so cold? Cold? I laughed. Cold was the road where he left me. Cold was his indifference when I needed him. Cold was the way he treated me all his life. Now I'm being fair. But Mum, he could die. He could. So what? She started crying. She always cried when I spoke like that. She never understood that sometimes you have to choose between being kind and being fair. And I had chosen to be fair. Mum, I don't recognise you anymore. You've changed. Yes, I have. I got tired of being a sucker. That word came out of my mouth with an ease that surprised me. Sucker. That's what I had been all my life. A sucker. Thinking that a mother's love was enough. Thinking that sacrifice was synonymous with love. Thinking that if I gave everything, I would receive at least a little bit back. But no. I received abandonment. I received humiliation. I received contempt. And on top of that, they expected me to continue being the same foolish mother as always. Mum, you weren't a sucker. You were loving. Loving? I sat in the armchair. Natalie, love that isn't returned is being a sucker. Sacrifice that isn't recognised is being a sucker. Patience that isn't respected is being a sucker. I was a sucker for more than 60 years. Now it's over. She was quiet. Finally, she had understood that it was no use insisting. That my decision was final, that I wasn't going back. But she kept coming to visit me, kept trying to maintain some relationship, and I let her, because Natalie, despite everything, never hurt me, never humiliated me, never abandoned me. She was just too cowardly to defend me when needed. The months turned into years. 2 years passed since that day on the road. I had created a new life, a new routine. I had some nice neighbours, made crochet to sell at the fair, took care of my plants. Simple life, but dignified. Life without humiliation, without disrespect, without ingratitude. Until one Saturday morning, Natalie appeared at my door. This time she wasn't crying. She was serious. Very serious. "Mum, I need to talk to you." "Talk, daughter." "It's about Henry." I sighed. Always about Henry. Always trying to convince me to forgive, to forget, to go back. "Natalie, how many times do I have to repeat? I don't want to know about your brother. For me, he died that day on the road." "Mum." She took a deep breath. "He really did die." The world stopped. Literally stopped. I looked at her, not really understanding what I had heard. "What did you say?" "Henry died, Mum. Yesterday morning." I sat down. Not because I was sad. Not because I was shocked. I sat down because my body demanded it, as if it needed to prepare to process that information. How? Heart attack, just like Dad. Massive. He was in his room at the boarding house. People only found out because he didn't come down for breakfast. Heart attack, just like his father. Henry had died just like his father. Alone, far from family, with no one to hold his hand. "Mum, are you okay?" I was okay. I didn't feel sadness. I didn't feel guilt. I didn't feel anything. It was as if someone had told me that a distant acquaintance had died. "I'm fine, daughter." "Mum, I need to organise the funeral. I need your help." My help for what? For everything. To choose the casket, to organise the service, to... "Natalie, your brother is no longer my problem. If you want to organise his funeral, organise it. I'm not going." "Mum, for God's sake, he's your son." "Was. He was my son. Now he's nothing." She started crying. She cried out of desperation, out of indignation, out of not believing what she was hearing. "Mum, how can you be so cruel? The man died." "Yes, he died, and I have nothing to do with it." "Mum, people will talk. They'll say you're an unnatural mother. Let them talk. Unnatural was me supporting an ungrateful son. Unnatural was me accepting humiliation silently. Unnatural was me forgiving someone who abandoned me on the road." She left crying. Left saying I was a monster, that I would regret it, that I would suffer for the rest of my life. But I wouldn't. I wasn't going to suffer. Because you only suffer for those you love. And I didn't love Henry anymore. Maybe I never loved the man he became. I loved the boy he once was. I loved the memory of that little boy who ran to hug me. But that boy had died a long time ago. Had died and given way to a man who didn't respect me, who didn't love me, who didn't want me. On the day of the funeral, I stayed home. Took care of my plants, did my crochet, watched my soap opera. Normal life. Life without drama. Life without pain. Natalie came back the next day, still with swollen eyes from crying so much. "Mum, it was very sad. There was almost no one there. Just me. Some neighbours from the boarding house, people from work. No one from our family. He had no family. He only had you. Mum, he left a letter. For you." My heart didn't race. I didn't feel curiosity. I didn't feel anything. A letter from Henry to me. After he was dead. What a joke. "I don't want to read it. Mum, please. Maybe it will change something." It won't change anything. He died the same way he lived, far from me. But Natalie insisted so much that I ended up taking the letter. Opened it without hurry, without expectation. It was a sheet of ordinary paper, handwritten, with that slightly crooked handwriting I had known since childhood. "Mum, I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. I know I did things that have no excuse. I know I hurt you in a way that will never heal, but I need you to know that I regret it. I regret having been the son I was. I regret having abandoned you on the road. I regret having treated you badly. I regret having taken so long to understand that you were the only person who truly loved me. Now it's too late. I've lost everything. Lost my family, lost my friends, lost my dignity. But what hurts the most is knowing that I lost you. Lost the only person who never gave up on me. Forgive me, Mum. Forgive me for everything, Henry." I read the whole letter, folded it, put it in the drawer, didn't cry, wasn't moved, didn't change my mind, because remorse after death is easy. Remorse when there was still time to change, he never had. So, Mom, did it change anything? It changed nothing. He died as he lived, too late. Natalie finally understood. Finally understood that it was no use insisting, that my decision was final, that I wasn't going back even after his death. But you know what happened? She started visiting me more, started giving me more attention. started to understand that I needed affection too. That I wasn't just a mother, I was a person who deserved respect, who deserved love, who deserved dignity. And gradually, we built a new relationship. A relationship without Henry in the middle. A real mother-daughter relationship. She took me for walks, helped me with shopping, sat talking with me for hours. We discovered we had much more in common than we imagined. "Mum, are you happier now?" "I'm at peace, daughter. Finally at peace." And it was true. I was at peace. There was no one humiliating me, using me, making a fool of me anymore. There was no one demanding forgiveness for unforgivable things. There was no one making me feel guilty for defending my dignity. The years passed. I aged in peace, took care of my health, my plants, my crochets. Natalie married, had children, but always kept visiting me, always kept giving me attention, always kept respecting me. I met my grandchildren. Beautiful, well-mannered children who called me Grandma with affection, who gave me kisses when they arrived and when they left, who made me cards on Mother's Day, who made me feel truly loved. One day Natalie asked me, "Mom, do you regret anything?" I thought about everything that had happened, the abandonment on the road, the revenge, Henry's death, our reconciliation. "You know what I regret, daughter?" "What?" "Having taken so long to learn to value myself, having accepted humiliation for so long, having thought that a mother's love was synonymous with being a doormat. And about Henry, don't you regret anything?" "About Henry, I regret only one thing, not having taught him to respect me when there was still time. Because that was it. I had created that monster. I had allowed him to treat me badly. I had accepted disrespect thinking it was love. I had been negligent in his upbringing. But I had also learned that it's never too late to change, that it's never too late to value yourself, that it's never too late to demand respect, even if it's painful, even if it's difficult, even if it's lonely. "Mum, do you think he's at peace?" "I hope so, daughter. I hope that wherever he is, he learned to value what he had. I hope he understood that a mother is not a maid, not a doormat, not someone you use when you need and discard when you no longer need." I died a few years later. Died in peace, in my apartment, surrounded by Natalie's affection and that of the grandchildren. Died knowing I had made the right choice, that I had defended my dignity, that I had valued myself. I left everything to Natalie. The apartment, what little money I had, the plants, the crochets, the story. I left everything to her because she knew how to love me, because she knew how to respect me, because she knew how to value me. And you know what she did? She told this story to her children, told it to teach that a mother is to be respected, that a mother is to be loved, that a mother is not to be used. Because this story isn't just mine. It's the story of all mothers who are mistreated by their children. It's the story of all mothers who accept humiliation thinking it's love. It's the story of all mothers who don't know how to say no. Because a mother is also a person. A mother also has feelings. A mother also deserves dignity. And when a child forgets that, sometimes the mother has to teach them, even if it's painful, even if it's late. I taught in the hardest way possible, taught by cutting the umbilical cord that still tied me to that ingrate, taught by showing that every action has consequences, taught by proving that a mother's love has limits. And if you who are listening to this story are a mother, learn, don't accept humiliation, don't accept disrespect, don't accept ingratitude, because you deserve love, you deserve respect, you deserve dignity. And if you who are listening to this story are a child, learn too. Value your mother while there's still time. Respect her while there's still time. Love her while there's still time. Because when it's no longer time, it will be too late. Because in life, my friends, sometimes we only learn when we lose. And me? I lost a son, but I gained myself. I lost the illusion, but I gained reality. I lost the humiliation, but I gained dignity. And at the end of the day, it was a fair trade. Very fair. If this story touched you in some way, like and share it with someone who needs to hear this. And remember, there's more tomorrow.